Can I ask Tshamano about the reporting the pandemic? One would have thought that it comes at the right time as we are about to go for the elections. In fact, we're already in the middle of the elections and so on. What would be your advice to journalists about protecting themselves? Is it the issue of making sure that when they use their mics, particularly in the broadcasting, they keep a distance? Is it an issue of masks? Or is it the issue of vaccination? You would know, one would not know who is vaccinated out there, and we cannot always ask somebody to produce a card. So what should be the basic assumption of any journalist who's about to interview somebody, be it the politicians and everybody who's campaigning out there?
No, thank you so much, Hopewell. I do think that the basics would cover wearing your mask and obviously maintaining, the distance. In this case, 1.5, as it has been suggested. But obviously, if one can just give an example with the different medium, I mean, if you're talking about the broadcast industry, particularly television, where in most cases a journalist would be a little bit closer to the source, obviously trying to get audio or better audio. So, and I have seen many of our colleagues in the country, they've been really trying their best, but I just think that more can be done to try and protect journalists. Obviously, if you do have, I'll give an example of a boom microphone, and if you are able to sort of put a boom, and you are able to still interview the source, at least with a good distance in between. It is correct to say people have been vaccinating, but you'd never know who has not vaccinated themselves. It would be difficult to find out as to whether somebody has been vaccinated or not. But what we do know is that even when people have been vaccinated, there are still chances that they can still contract COVID-19. But it is important, therefore, to adhere to all of the protocols. One can also understand that journalists work on different stories. I mean, if you were to take a case of protests, the violence that we have seen in KZN, obviously those kind of stories, they do contribute to some of the problems that we have seen in as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
There is a question that Koketo was trying to ask, and is saying that navigating POPIA Act when covering breaking news, because sometimes you don't have the liberty to ask people for permission. Afterwards, they would come and request that you drop the picture maybe or a video, and then that will distort the story, how to go about doing this. If you would be able to assist.
No, thank you so much. That's a very good question. I'm not too sure if Isaac can hear us, but I know that he did indicate that he will be joining in, and I can see him here. Isaac has been a great champion for us at SANEF as well as the Press Council. So Isaac, if you are able to assist with that question, we'll be happy to hear from you. But anyway, I'm happy to talk to that, but I see Isaac is here. Isaac, over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
And I just posted a link in the chat to the Press Council's resources on POPIA. In short, publications which are members of the Press Council, meaning subscribing to the press code, are not or are exempted from many of the POPIA requirements. So I think what should happen in media organizations is, for editorial purposes, there's a different set of privacy-related clauses as is in the press code, which, by the way, the press council is busy to update at the moment. But even the current set of privacy clauses in the press code, they still apply. So if you abide by the press code's privacy clauses, you do not need to go to apply the very restrictive POPIA clauses. So in the link that I just provided, there's guidelines that can help you to maneuver the new privacy regulations. I think let's just leave it there for people to go and have a look at that. And they can then also contact the executive director of the press council, Latifa Mubara, if they need more help. You'll see in the links, there's actually some training materials for POPIA in newsrooms that people can use. Thank you.
I think just to augment, because I've had the privilege to look at the POPIA Act. As journalists, please note that you don't have your hands tied behind your back, and therefore cannot find yourself doing your stories because you are journalists because of the POPIA Act. It was done and put together with the input from the media, and it does not override your journalistic basic conditions of practice, which means that, yes, you still have to give the other side the right of reply. You still have to respect, if you are writing about a child, for example, the rules that are basic. You still have to note that if you're dealing with a victim of gender-based violence, you still have to respect the identity and so on. But you can still write your story without necessarily revealing the names and the face and the pictures and so on. So those basics still remains. They were there before, and they are still there now. And they are even more reinforced by POPIA. But your job as a journalist to be able to interview people, to give them the right of reply and identify them, it's there, it's in the public interest. The POPIA does not override your right to do your job. It does not curtail your journalistic rights to do your job. So familiarize yourself, and you'll be happier, because you'll notice that you can actually go far with the rights that are there. And in fact, some of those clauses are even added in the POPIA, and the press code or the broadcasting code or the media code is acknowledged by POPIA. So you are still at liberty to do your job as you should. Thank you.
No, that's correct. So it doesn't necessarily override all those that have been there. Actually, it even enhances the work that has been done even before.
So don't be intimidated by those who come to you and wave the POPIA next to you. You will just tell them that read the POPIA, read the clauses. I'm allowed to do my job. I'm actually exempted as a journalist to do my job. It actually is a good weapon when they bring it. Just turn it around them and just tell them to read certain clauses. They will be very disappointed. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? I thought, because we are dealing with the issues of the safety of journalists, I should share something for you that I did not cover necessarily in my presentation. I just want to say, journalists, when you are going to an area that the IEC might call a hotspot, because maybe people are protesting there and are using the election period to protest, to showcase, or in fact, bring to the forth their problems. I am still advising journalists that get to do your basic. Get to know when you are going. Let's say it's Vosloorus, or it's Thokoza, or it's Katlehong, wherever you are working. Get to know the place before you go. It is often advisable that you get to know sometimes the community media there, the community members there, community leaders, so to speak, also you get to know the parties that exist in that area and the leadership that is there, so that you get to create a relationship that will enable you, the environment, to operate easily and to work freely. Because sometimes some community leaders tend to think that if a journalist is not known to them, therefore is not welcome, and you may find some hostility. So do your groundwork, introduce yourself to these people now, and you go. You know, newsrooms plan earlier that they are going to cover this area or that area or that area, and they therefore decide which journalist will go where, and then start making sure that you do your groundwork, you familiarize with the leadership that is there, and then it will help you to knock through certain doors and to come in easily. And you don't even only need the leadership of the politicians, you also need the community leaders, your churches that are there, the church leaders. They do a great work in terms of enabling journalists access to their communities, because if you have gone through this bishop or that priest or whatever it is, you find that they are able to say, in my congregation, a person who's a political activist, it's so and so, he or she can talk to you about this. So in that way, we are already gaining access and understanding what's happening on the ground, and you start getting to know the people. Because some of these church leaders, they know their congregation very well, and so on. And you get to know also your civic associations, groups, your street committees, starts finding out who are those leaders. And they are happy to often come forth and talk to the media. Because by coming to them, we are kind of saying we are recognizing them, but it enables you the opportunity to get in with one foot, and then you can then ask general members of the public about why the protest is happening, why maybe the IC is not being allowed, and so on. And then you get to understand the issues that is making them angry, and so on. So do not try to be a hero, please. Make your ground. Make an assessment of the situation before you get into the area, and always have an escape route. Have an escape route. In other words, if you were to find a too hostile situation, back off. Okay, back off, pull out, because they tend to also want to damage the cars. There is a journalist, I think it was Newsroom Africa, during the earlier COVID-19 situation, that were shot at, and it was very unhealthy. So yes, they survived. The cars were damaged, but we are saying that sometimes when you are getting into the situation and you find that, read the situation, make sure that you understand the temperature of the people. As they get hot, they got steamed up, they got feisty, and they get unreasonable. Simply pull out. You may find that by turning a corner and going to another area, you find a different group of people who are more welcoming, who are willing to share with you their concerns, their anger, their situation, and you still have a great story without necessarily forcing your way to talk to people who are not welcoming. Any other thing? We are just about to close, so I will ask Tshamano to give his closing remarks.
No, thank you so much, Hopewell. Maybe just a point to add, and I think you make those points very, very clear. Sometimes we are always looking for politicians. I mean, the stories are with the people on the ground. I mean, you do give an example of community leaders. It can be the, religious leaders, though the pastors. It can be, just anyone in that community. But also the point that I really just wanted to say is that when in a case of tensions, if at all a situation might turn out to be violent, or whichever direction it might take, which may not necessarily be welcome, but those people, they already know you, you see, and somehow, to a certain extent, a good relationship would have been established, and they are going to be the people to even assist you to sort of get out of that particular situation. But anyway, the last remarks from me really is just to say thank you so much for making time for this. Obviously, with just a few days to go before the elections, certainly, I mean, if one could sort of reference the experiences of what we may have seen even in the previous elections. Yes, sometimes things would get out of hand, but the responsibility becomes ours. But I like what you just said, Hopewell. Perhaps maybe the word I wanted to just add was to say, no story is worth your life, right? Do read that situation. Make really good preparation, good assessment of what's happening on the ground, and obviously in the end you are able to tell the story of South Africa to her people, but also at the same time you remain safe yourself. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and that will be it from me, Hopewell.
Okay, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to just say before you go, we invite you on the next webinar. A date will soon be announced. You will get the information soon. But what is it going to be about? SANEF has developed an elections portal. Do go to our website. There is an alert that is floating. You'll be able to click to it and get to understand what the elections portal is about. But there is also this data dashboard that will make you understand each municipality that you want to go and visit. You get the basics. We worked with Open Up. We worked with people who designed the WASI map, and we have refined that information. We have data that comes from the IEC, which is fresh, which is going on, so that you get to know what's going on. So we will be showing more about this, which is when we will schedule it soon. It is on elections data storytelling, and that webinar is coming as soon as the IEC 2021 pre-election data sets becomes available. As I said, we are working with the IEC because they also want journalists to know every information as to what's happening in these municipalities. And they include also the finances of what's going on, the size of the municipality or branch, not branch, the IEC designated areas. I've forgotten the name now, it escapes me. So what you then do, the ward areas. So you get to know where the ward starts and goes and what's the composition of the ward, so that when you are analyzing the contestants from various parties, including independents, you are able to say, what's the profile of this ward? It is an absolute wonderful dashboard. It is on your fingertips, and there is even a way to click and download on your smartphone these things, so that you are able to, while you are reporting live, or maybe we are getting information, you are able to get it immediately. So we thank you kindly for your participation. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.